Now, more than 900 sub-postmasters were prosecuted for stealing after a fault in the Horizon computer system in what has been described as the UK's most widespread miscarriage of justice. Now, here to talk us through the latest is Nick Wallis. He's the author of The Great Post Office Scandal. Nick, it's always good to chat to you. Thank you for joining us. What have we learnt today in terms of just trying to uncover who knew what when?
It is going to be a very difficult process to unpick this over the course of the next 4 months. But today we had a previous managing director of the Post Office who had commissioned a report. It's known as the ISMAY report. It became infamous during the Court of Appeal hearings back in 2021, in which an employee of the Post Office, a respected auditor called Rod Ismay, pulled together over the course of 2 weeks a justification for the Post Office's belief in the Horizon IT system. David Smith was the man who commissioned that report. So today we spent at least 2 hours talking about how he came to commission that report, the terms of reference that he gave to Rod Ismay, because it has been described as a whitewash. And we spent an awful lot of time dancing on the head of a pin, but essentially it boiled down to David Smith's admission that when he commissioned this report, he did not commission an independent investigation into the Horizon system. What he asked Rod Ismay to do was to pull together elements of opinion from the business to provide assurance to the government that the Horizon IT system was okay. And that's where we finished. So essentially, after 2.5 hours of questioning, we got to the admission that David Smith had commissioned a whitewash. And that is really significant because the Post Office then used it to continue prosecuting innocent people for the next 3 years.
Absolutely. Now this is, as you say, pivotal, because surely at some point, all this very sorry, this caused great upset, all this sort of business, that you get the hand-wringing from all these people who clearly commissioned the wrong things, perhaps weren't even up to the job. At what stage is the compensation going to be paid out to these poor people who have suffered? And is there going to be any kind of punishment for the people who clearly either weren't up to the job or took the wrong decisions when they were in the job? It's astonishing.
What I find appalling is that one of the lead campaigners, Alan Bates, who put in his application for compensation back in October, and the government said that they would give him an offer within 40 days and then didn't, has been finally offered a sixth of the amount of compensation that he has put in for. Now, this is a man who managed to expose the biggest miscarriage of justice in UK legal history. He fought against the Post Office, he fought against the government, he fought against the teams, the battalions of lawyers, and the huge amount of money that was put in play to try and stop the truth from coming out. And when it comes down to it, when it's finally been put out into the open that the sub-postmasters were telling the truth, that they were falsely accused of stealing money due to figures on a Horizon system, the government is now saying, we don't think that any of your campaigning time is worth a bean when it comes to compensating you. So there's that element of the compensation, which is still rumbling on.
Also, by the way, sorry to interrupt, but also, by the way, the government seems to be perfectly happy to spend huge amounts of money on its own legal fees and on its process that seems to be holding up the payment of the compensation. Frankly, we could all save a lot of time, effort and money if they just coughed up, gave these people a fair response. I mean, nobody comes out of this, either from the Post Office or the government, looking good, do they?
Well, Nick Reed, who is the chief executive of the Post Office, was in the room whilst Alan Bates was giving evidence yesterday. And Alan said if he'd just turned up with his checkbook, then we could have saved a whole lot of money by handing over what he believes is rightfully his. They have spent more than twice as much on lawyers as they have on compensating the victims to this scandal. That is utterly unforgivable.
Well,
James.
It's unforgivable. It's also ludicrous, and it shines a light also on what these top people are being paid. And I go back to my original point as to whether they were fit for purpose, whether we've been recruiting people in the right way, and whether people are responsible for their actions. But let me ask you, because you are going, as far as I understand it, not only to continue with your analysis of what's going on, but also getting questions, taking questions and giving answers around the country from tomorrow. Where are you going? Why are you going? And who are you going to see?
I'm going to be at the Darlington Hippodrome as of tomorrow night, which is a 900-seater venue. We've got Lee Castleton, who was obviously featured in the Bates v Post Office drama. He's one of those people who's been campaigning for years. I'm going to reveal the identity of one of the secret sources in my book. He lives up there, and he's agreed to come out on stage and tell us who he really is and what his involvement was in the Post Office Horizon scandal. But it's also giving people an opportunity who have an interest in this, who've seen the drama, who've maybe read my book, who've been watching what's been going on, to ask their own questions of some of the protagonists, some of the victims who were caught up in this, in the regions in which they were caught up, the communities who were involved in this, who maybe saw their local postmaster being sacked or suspended or prosecuted and didn't really know what was going on, to find out the truth about what was going on. So it's a wonderful opportunity over the next 11 days to go from Darlington to Crewe to Evesham to Shrewsbury to meet lots of people and spend some time in a room full of theatre goers and people who have an interest in this scandal, and giving them an opportunity to ask questions of me about what I know about the scandal, and maybe questions that they want answering, but also some of the victims who were involved, who went to prison, who were given criminal convictions, and who have now been vindicated, and get their opportunity to tell their own community exactly what went wrong.
Well, it's going to be a fascinating tour. Nick, wishing you very good luck with that. Thank you very much indeed for joining us once again.